Welcome back to live coverage of Rainbow Six Siege here, part of the Brazilian division. We're going to get stuck into match number 3 here. Friday night joined by Gio and Ollie, and it's great to have your company. Our next matchup is between MIBR and Team oNe. MIBR, a team that is on the down and down, really, compared to Team oNe on the up and up. Let's meet our two teams here and get to learn a little bit more about their players. And after this, it'll be straight into the action.
All the success that MIBR accumulated during the first stage of BR6 has already been lost. Still, without winning in the second stage, it is possible to say that the situation of this team is dire. If the winners don't return, Lukit and company run serious risk of being out of the Elite Six. Team oNe is already in a good place and wants to keep it that way. Having ascended up the table after the 6th Invitational, the contrast between the teams is apparent. We just have to take a look at the mouthpieces of the team. On one side, Lagonis, and on the other side, Playday.
No primeiro turno a gente perdeu pra Chone no BR6, mas aí depois na Elite Six a gente conseguiu voltar no litoral e ganhar.
Confronto contra a MIBR, a gente saiu bem, bem do início ao fim, eu diria assim. Todos os rounds foram rounds bem pegados, mas a gente conseguiu ganhar alguns rounds chaves, com até clutches ou algumas jogadas individuais, assim, que trouxeram vários rounds, assim, pra nós. Então, acho que esses rounds e esses detalhes, assim, esses clutches fizeram a diferença aí pra nossa vitória.
In addition to winning the most recent duel, Team oNe have been using German-inspired Karl Zarf's mantra of lots of media, lots of bullets, as he continues to rack up MVP titles. To MIBR's dismay, however, the player that most concerns the team is the bruised Felipox. In the second stage, the team's performance has not been good, but has been even worse in his absence. The circumstances are extremely unfavourable. Bodega's provocations are certainly old. Will Team oNe silence him and put another win on the board, or will MIBR be able to finally take the first steps out of their pit of despair? This and much more you will find out in the clash between MIBR and Team oNe.
Well, those are our teams, but where will they be playing? The question on everyone's lips right now. Gio, talk us through this map veto stage here.
I mean, I think when you look at a team like MIBR, they've been going for maps like, Villa, like Oregon, and I guess they're not going to be going to either of those. Chalet, an interesting one for MIBR. Not really been showing up on the aggression, but we'll see how it fares.
Can we get some momentum behind MIBR? Can they get the monkey off the back? Or is it going to be Team oNe continuing their rising stardom here? Let's get stuck in. It's down to the match now with Gio and Ollie.
Thank you very much, Riley. We really are getting through these games today. We appreciate you keeping up. Chalet as the map. Gio, me and you were scratching our heads a little bit when this one got brought out inside of the veto. Doesn't seem like a map that's going to sort of play into and favour MIBR at the moment, especially with the troubles that we see them have. And you think about Team oNe on this map. There was a tweet actually last week from Alamau after they played Chalet, and I messaged one of my friends to get it all translated. Big shout out to Bruno. He's someone that I go to translate any tweets that I see in Brazilian Portuguese. And when the translate doesn't quite hit home, and it doesn't quite give you the full picture. And basically, it was Alamau saying that he was very surprised that they got taken to Chalet because Team oNe basically invented the meta on Chalet, and it was aimed at Ince. Ince, of course, took Team oNe to Chalet last week, and Alamau was sort of spouting his confidence on the map. And yet again, we see Chalet be picked here and played, and MIBR have let this one slip through.
It is a peculiar one for me because the best game that MIBR have had so far this stage has been on Oregon. Now, they did also have a really terrible game on Oregon, so, But it's been Oregon, it's been Villa, it's been these more strategical maps that they've been going to, which makes sense because when they're playing with Bodega in their lineup, you don't necessarily want to be going to maps that lean way more heavily into the mechanical skill. Bodega's got a brain, but he's not the guy who's meant to be sat there behind the keyboard. He's just filling in for now. Meanwhile, as you say, Team oNe do very well on these types of maps. They absolutely decimated FaZe Clan yesterday on Coastline. And as you say, they basically invented the meta here on Chalet. You know, I remember their game that they played against FacePlan on it last stage, which was the real beginning of understanding how this map was going to be played, at least by the Brazilian teams. And Team One have been looking better and better as the stage has gone on and really gotten themselves together. And they've had plenty of time to practice on this map so far this stage when other teams have brought them here. So to me, it is also peculiar. And I wonder if MIBR just simply picked the... Well, I mean, it wasn't even them who got the last pick. It was Team One who got the last pick, I believe, so...
It's one that you'd maybe look to remove a little bit sooner than leave it out to last and try and play chicken with it, especially with how well Team One play. Now, for any keen-eyed viewers amongst the chat, and I'm sure there are plenty, you can actually see that Fleepox is inside of the lobby here. So this has taken us by surprise as well. You know, we have literally speed run into this fixture without having a good look at who's playing and stuff. So we're waiting for a little bit of confirmation onto one how Fleepox is actually playing.
He's on a controller. He's on a controller.
He is going to be on a controller. So that's the reason why he's in it. Anyone that's not familiar, and one of the reasons why MIBR aren't doing too hot at the moment is because Fleepox is out with a shoulder injury, and Bodega's been playing in his place, but Fleepox does have the ability to play with a controller that doesn't affect his shoulder too badly, not the same as a sort of swinging mouse movement. So in this instance, we are going to see Fleepox playing. That could be a bit of a difference maker, but still, we're not seeing MIBR run at full strength here, and you've got to wonder and question the quality of scrim that they're able to get when they are dealing with a player that can't necessarily put in that amount of time at that sort of a level.
All my talk about Bodega's strengths and weaknesses just to be put in the dirt because Fleepox is in again.
It's wild.
Come on, MIBR. It's crazy. Falls doesn't quite land the kill onto Levy, and in return, Levy is going to be throwing in an E1D, but he does get a nice kill onto Lagonis, who decides to spring forth into office, and I believe that's the diffuser dropped as well, but look at the kills coming in for Team One. They're getting their revenge. Raps, however, hello! Okay, and Fleepox adding on. Just Alamouth, suddenly everybody seemed to die in the space of about 3 seconds. Couldn't even keep up with it. But the first round does indeed go to MIBR.
I really enjoyed Fleepox's face reaction on that. I'm not sure if we're going to get a live action replay of it. But he looked almost as shocked as the player that just died that he was actually able to land that shot after the repelling player got taken on down. A lot of kills there for the side of MIBR. They had a nice setup in toward that master and office area. I think we might get a glimpse at that once again, as there was plenty of action going down at that time. Fowls was, of course, a big player in that regard as well. We do get Fleepox there. You just see the eyes sort of widen a little bit as the kill goes through. It's going to be a big first round for them. And, you know, bringing Fleepox back in, regardless of if he's on controller or not, it's got to do a lot for the rest of the side. MIBR aren't a team that are used to this sort of down bad feeling. Don't think of MIBR and think that they're a bottom of the leaderboard team. You're expecting them to be up there challenging, nipping at the heels, and really causing the big dogs a little bit of trouble. And that's not what we've seen from them inside of stage 2. The fact that Fleepox is in this game, it really flips every expectation on its head that we have about it, and again speaks to how important a match this is, given that he is in and playing. It just goes to show how much MIBR want something out of this game.
And don't forget that we saw Fleepox stand in with a controller back on Playday number 2, I believe it was as well. And it didn't go quite that well. So I do find it really interesting that they've decided to bring him in once again, because a big discussion we had is, you know, what's more important, consistency and always bringing Bodega, or having your, you know, actual player, but have him, you know, at a disadvantage. And at the time, we kind of thought, yeah, having him in on a controller, it doesn't do enough. It doesn't do enough to make up the issues, because it didn't then. But maybe MIBR have been practicing with it and have actually decided now is the time. So I'm intrigued to see if the rest of the rounds are going to go the way that we did just see from MIBR. I think partially that was handed to them just because of the sheer aggression and the leaping in through windows that Team One were going for. I think after they lost, particularly Lagonis carrying the diffuser, a lot of maybe their plans went out the window. Team One is still spending a lot of time outside, and for them to have breached in through garage as opposed to focusing on the upstairs as is usual for attacking onto this side. Okay.
See you later, Redux. Lagonis landing the shots there, just on the shoulder peak. Still, like you say, a strange place to mount your attack from. But it is going to pressure that library stair, and it's going to be something that MIBR have to try and concern themselves with now, especially if they've invested some utility up into library. It's going to be not to waste, but it maybe isn't exactly where it needs to be. Team One were very cheeky when we saw them play this map last week against Instant. They were regularly getting themselves in and trying to get a quick plant down. So we're not seeing that same sort of aggression or confidence from Team One here, as they're aware that MIBR are a slightly different beast, but still, smokes are going to be cutting off that window into games. A lot of players from the side of MIBR stacking up there, looking like they're getting ready to hop on through. 30 seconds remain. One Toxic Babe canister in the hands of Fowls that will be thrown out, so give it 10, maybe 15, and we might start to see a push come on in here. Flying E1D is going to ring on through as the players do start to drop and pressure in onto the side, but it's going to be Fowls again to step up. Lukid, he's going to be able to cover that cross as well. Team One getting decimated. The diffuser cold. Alamau, he knows there's a player inside a stock, but why, oh why would anybody peek at this stage? Fowls, 2 seconds left. I suppose it is forgivable. Lukid doesn't even let the time run things out. He's out for all the frags. This one's personal. MIBR take 2 rounds in a row.
Very interesting. Team One, who decided to go for a slightly different approach on their attack, didn't end up working out too hot for them. And it was also intriguing because Felipox was up on the mezzanine. You know, he was in charge of guarding library, but there wasn't a ton of pressure applied onto library because Team One's entire approach didn't really depend on it in the way that the typical attack onto bar would, because there's so much more of a focus on the upstairs if you're going for that more standard, more meta way. But this time, Team One all kind of stacked up outside of games itself, tried to come in through the window. I think they gave MIBR kind of enough warning to know what it was they were going for. They could react very well to it. They had the bodies downstairs. An interesting one.
There's got to come a time where Team One need to start getting rounds on the board on attack if they're going to be successful here on Chalet. It's a map that is famed for its attacker opportunity. Some would go as far as to say that it is attacker-sided in a very defensive-sided meta that would kind of indicate that you need to be successful on a good couple of your attacking rounds here. So far, Team One just going for kind of unusual approaches. I'd like to see something a little bit more default from them here when they're attacking onto kitchen. Take control of that top floor, working to get the wall open, into kitchen. Maybe try and get a plant down, but that just hasn't really been a mainstay focus in Team One. They've often been going for these sort of slightly off-meta pushes. And so far, it's hurt them quite a bit. Neither of the rounds have been particularly close. They've both been quite low on time. We really need to see something a little bit different here.
Just going to be using the X-Kairos to get rid of the Surya gates as they drone downstairs from the trophy side. A lot of teams, when attacking onto kitchen, will go in from the office dining side of things, open up both of those walls. Not Team One, going in from the north side. With the X-Kairos placed as well onto the mirror window, they should be able to open that up. Provide pressure onto anyone who may be upstairs, but is wrapped to open up with the first kill onto Neskin.
Again, a kill going down in favor of MIBR. KDS will be there with the swing, though. Does manage to shut down for Leapox. Maybe Mirror out of the picture, so a C4 gone as well. Still, there's some big players to remove from MIBR. Levy going to be holding this big window now as he looks to try and cut through the site and hold a bit of a flank. oNe briefly going to route these players in location, but Lagonis, curiosity kills the cat. It's awful when you can see those kills starting to happen. KDS, though, he's going to try and make better of this situation. He's able to find himself too. There's still plenty of time available for Team 1. That's a crucial point to note as well. And now they can start to work vertically. Redux is already forced out of position due to pressure coming in. The diffuser is cold, but there's nothing really stopping it from being recovered. Site preparations going now for these final couple of seconds. KDS is on for the A series. Managed to find the nade kill onto an already low Redux. Vals has to do a lot here inside of 40 seconds. Does have 2 Toxic Babe canisters, but he's being pressured vertically and soon to be horizontally as well. The Iana clone going to gather that intel. Maybe get shot in the back here from the bottom of Solarium. You could see the crossfire established. It's going to be KDS to find the final kill. He secures himself his ace. Very well deserved.
Beautiful round from Team 1 to make up for the mistakes of the previous 2. Looking dominant once again as the fight continues on. MIBR are going to be returning back to Master. So it was an interesting approach from Team 1 back on round number 1. Had a lot of posturing on the windows, and then when things started to go downhill, they all decided to come in at once, and everybody got punished. I think one of the big problems, if you're attacking onto that top floor, and you haven't cleared out whoever is in kind of closet, bathroom sort of area, which is really an area that you can hold on to so many of those key windows, which in the case of the attackers are angles or rather avenues of ingress. If you haven't cleared out that person, then you're going to really struggle to enter into the site. And that's a problem that Team 1 found themselves facing. Not just that, but MIBR also have Philippox present on the solar stairs, which we've known from many games that we have seen, can be a really powerful position to prevent any movement in from the Solarium windows. So maybe a bit of a lack of due diligence on the side of Team 1. This time they're going to be going up against a different sort of composition anyway, as Reduct is going to be present on Clash, not something that they brought last time. So that should, in theory, slow down Team 1's push, regardless of whether or not they actually make it into the building or not this time.
Just another problem to solve, isn't it? And something else to chew up a load of time. Clash great for challenging players that are going to be on windows. Obviously the zap and the fact that you are behind the shield, it makes it so difficult as an attacker to really get that entry. We're relying on a bit of teamwork, nice little crossfire, and potentially some nades to try and deal with said Clash. Team 1 opting for that ingress through garage again, that being their main point of entry, at least to clear out any of that lower presence that may be there. But MIBR, they're not roaming too heavily. oNe shouldn't come up against too many obstacles here. Already getting himself through. Has the chance at moving all the way up these stairs as well, but is just waiting for the drone information to come on out. oNe just in case. It's going to assist this push. oNe will make it up to the top of library, but what is he faced with? He's faced with the Clash.
Yeah, that's going to stunt his progression a little bit. At least he got to the top of the stairs. He did that very well. Great, but now you've got to try and catch the Clash out. Now, there is the potential that she can be caught out from behind, but Alamal's actually made his way through rather safely via the mezzanine. Going to be jumping down, holding the angle down in through dining. Now, because he's playing on the buck, as always, he should be able to get some really nice vertical power from here, whether that's to get rid of the denial behind the wall, which I suspect was the case here. He could still play from dining or kitchen to actually shoot upwards, but his rotation out suggests that that's not going to be the plan.
One are looking pretty disjointed here in this approach. As we enter the final minute, something has to start coming together here if they're going to be successful in an execute. There's still the Clash to deal with. The Clash is always worth at least 2 players alive when you get into that final 30 seconds, just in how annoying and frustrating it can be. Val's going to open things up, shutting down KDS from his successes in the previous round with a nice angle, and he's going to be able to smoke off the doorway onto that balcony. Adonis can move through, but really all he's going to be greeted with is this clash. Felipox shuts down Alamau vertically. Any hope of dealing with that clash from beneath has been thwarted. Kills continue to trade, and MIBR on the right side of them. Lagonis with a desperate swing. Levy caught outside, trying to make something happen, but it was only a matter of time. Raps is actually going to take a little trip out into the snow for him. He jumps over onto the balcony, finishing that final kill off. MIBR, again, not looking too pressured there.
No, not at all. I mean, I don't know if maybe Team 1 weren't expecting the clash to come through, but you could tell by the way they were trying to navigate around that they were basically just trying to avoid her rather than deal with her directly head on. Now, I don't think they were playing as a fear on that last round. They didn't really have anything that was directly designed to get rid of a clash. They are going to be this round. They've actually teased out the Ying, but will be 6-picking off of Ying onto Zafir for their next attack onto, I assume this is Bar. Yeah, it is Bar. Now, interestingly, this was the round that Team 1 went for a really peculiar attack onto back in round number 2. They didn't go for your standard coming in through the top floor. In fact, the first thing that they did was breach onto Snowmobile to try and pressure down through there, where MIBR did in fact have a defender. So it makes sense that they wanted to go on the clear, but after that they focused on the first floor. They didn't really touch the top floor that much. I want to see how much Team 1's approach is going to change for this attack, because what it was that they tried in round 2 simply did not work.
Team 1 have to come up with something a little bit different. I don't think they can afford to try and rely on that same strategy. Already Neskin looks to be pressuring into that library. Levy, is he going to get himself up onto the rappel? Please do. We like to see good library control, then worked on down. In the meantime, just going to be holding the line into the site, seeing if you can catch anybody out on a rotation. Still with a bit of a bit of preparation going on upstairs. Raptors going to be pretty well situated to try and hold on from inside of master bedroom and office area. And hold that angle onto the library stairs. I don't think the MIBR are playing the classic shield at the top of library, which is quite popular when defending here, as those library stairs are just the key linchpin in the entire defense. As soon as you lose control of that, usually that you have lost the entirety of the top floor. I guess we'll see. Oh, it is there.
The classic. I like that, you know, Team 1, they took the time to drone down through the bottom floor to ensure that there isn't that same roam going on as there was previously. And I don't think anybody was down there. So now we just want to look for some of this top floor pressure. Lagonis is getting on the rappel to try and hold into library. And you can see Levy on the other side. So this is something that they kind of lacked last time. Alamau jumping straight in to come in from the other side. Now, it shouldn't be too hard for him to get rid of the shield. There we go, lifeline in. But actually, you could hear the lifeline get sucked up by the ADS. So it's going to take the second shot to actually remove the shield finally.
Still, it's a job done, but it comes at a cost. Kills now start to trade. Redux is able to take down Neskin. KDS been playing exceptionally well throughout the course of the game so far. Currently on 8-3. And he's looking to have a big impact here again. Now, there's still the small issue of Lukid off-site. He was a big problem last time, just holding inside a kitchen, ready to deal with any players that move through that main lobby area. But someone seriously needs to do something about KDS here. He's going to try and nade on in. He's going to do a chunk of damage onto Fowls, but Fowls takes the initiative, goes for the swing, and shuts him down. Whilst all the work that KDS has done is good and valued, it wasn't really being backed up by his team. Fleetbox is going to be upstairs. He can easily be caught out and cut off here. And Fowls is just looking to try and stop anybody from pushing it on in. He still has... his last Toxic Dave canister has just been tossed on out. The pressure is going to start to mount. Fleetbox, is now the right time? The answer's no. Levy, they're able to shut you down. Team One not taking any chances with that last player. Fouls inside of stock. He's going to get swung at the same time. One from either side. Nice little pinch. And it's something there for Team One to take home.
That could have gone either way, though, because I really agree with the point that you're making about KDS's kills not necessarily being followed up. And one of the concerns that I had after he went down was that there wasn't really any utility that could be used to pressure onto Falls in backstore from afar. But the fact that Team One actually brought down his one teammate, it meant that they were unimpeded in being able to just fully go in from both sides of the room and actually aggress onto him in person. But that was a nice improvement from what we saw in round number 2. Team One getting closer to evening things out. They just need to take this next round and they will be entering into the half at 3-3. Kitchen was the first site that they won. KDS, if you remember, got a nice cheeky ace.
It was a big round for KDS, wasn't it? He was able to get himself in and cause a lot of trouble. He's been a big impact player for the side of Team One recently. I'm not sure if they've changed roles around it. It seems like they've not in terms of the operators that people are playing, but I'm not sure if he's just being enabled a little bit more. Certainly is coming up with a bunch of kills. Going to need a big performance from him here again, as he is currently kill lead. You look at someone like Neskin, who I guess maybe isn't quite performing second entry, but he's certainly in the realm of flex, especially if you're playing on Sledge. You're going to want to see some value out of those nades. Currently sitting at 0 kills. You're going to want a bit of value out of that.
I didn't even notice the 0 kills, man. Yeah, that's not... Like, Neskin has his days. But he certainly has... He's actually been caught out by Felipox a couple of times as well, which has made me laugh a little bit inside, just because you never want to be the guy... You never want to be the guy who's being caught out by the guy on the controller. That's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot of fun, does it? I think it probably opens you up to a little bit of friendly ribbing between the teams, between the players who are getting taken out by somebody using a controller. To be honest, Felipox doesn't look terrible. You know, we saw him kind of blindly run into Library on that last round, but that's just one of those things that happens. I don't think that we're, you know, we're not necessarily expecting the world out of him, but he's still capable and he's still able to land his shots. I'll be honest, I'm guilty of not fully knowing Felipox's background. I don't know if he did play on, you know, one of the consoles previously, whether it be Xbox or PS4, and maybe that's where he's, you know, got a little bit of early Siege experience from. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. If it is, then he's still going to be fairly capable.
To be fair, they haven't stated what controller it is, so maybe it's like an N64.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like...
like a joystick? Like
yeah, it could be anything. Like Nintendo Wii, like, you know. You don't know what it is. It could be anything. Well, Levy gets the opening kill. We know for a fact that he's playing on keyboard and mouse, so... Just your standard kill with a standard set of controls. Team One still pressuring here on the windows. Levy's trying to hold off this long angle down through piano.
Fouls underneath has been a little bit of a menace so far. He's trying to hold on to the bottom of the Solarium stairs. There's not a lot of vertical pressure coming in here, and that could do something to shift him out of here, because at the minute, he's able to just find whichever angle he wishes and do his best to try and hold on. Redux, he's going to find the frag onto Neskin. Neskin obviously getting in upstairs to try and deal with some of that vertical. Eventually, fouls will fall, and it will be to the hands of KDS, the hot player today. He stormed his way on into the site, and they've got full site control here. I'm not sure if MIBR are fully aware of this, but they can now try and work this as a defense on the actual site, with still vertical angles being held that have just been entirely ignored. Lukin gets a chance and he will take it. Manages to cut down Levy. The big problem is that plant is ticking on down. Still there's vertical angles to work with. There's not a great deal of time remaining here for Lukin and Felipox to really make something significant happen. Lukin's going to have to throw himself over the stairs, try and get himself down. It's an area that is going to be being watched. You can bet your life on that. Felipox will find one onto KDS. Alamat now in the clutch.
Oh, no.
Had to draw off the pistol. That was getting a little bit close there.
Fleabog's actually got a really nice headshot as well just before that, and then he seemingly gets stuck on a wall and punished by the pistol of Alamau. You know, sometimes it really do just be that way. But it means that these teams are going to be finishing off the half 3-3, evened out totally. And this is where you start to wonder, are MIBR going to do just as well on the attack? They've had a number of rounds in this half where they looked pretty good. And I'll be honest, I've been surprised. Is it going to continue in the attack?
It's been a pleasant surprise, hasn't it? It's been nice to see MIBR playing to that, not to that same level, but to the level that we know
recognizable.
Yeah, they're not far off, are they? They're nearly back to where they were. They've taken 3 rounds against Team 1 here on Chalet. As you say, this is where the acid test starts to begin, though. And we need to see how they're able to perform when they do switch those sides. Now, I'm kind of shocked, I'll be honest, to see Fleapox go for the Zephyr. Obviously, Zephyr has a lot of utility that's usually quite particular in how it's used. And often you're after doing some quite precise things with the life. I mean, I don't really know who else you would sort of go to, whether you just want to stick to something that you're at least capable of pulling off and playing, but you do start to wonder where Fleapox's strengths and weaknesses will start to show and be exposed here, as he does move on to such a crucial operator where you're going to be looking to, get a lot of value out of the kit. Of course, you do have great weapons to be rocking and trying to control that recoil with the controller.
I mean, when you think about when we first saw Bodega, he was taking on the hard support, and it was really notable how the role changes that happened within MIBR were affecting them. And they started to look a bit better when Bodega actually moved on to that kind of flex position, flex support position, and everyone else could situate themselves back in the roles that they knew they liked to play. So part of me wonders if it's just because that is what Fleapox would be playing anyway, and it causes the least disruption amongst everybody else's roles.
Yeah, I think that's the key, isn't it? Is not putting anyone else out of joint well and ensuring that they're still able to play on who they need to perform the best. And we'll have to see if it's something that the weakness that starts to show, or if it's something that we, maybe just don't really notice too well. MIBR, for the most part, have just spent the first minute of this round really just setting themselves up, getting those lines of sight established, getting that information, gathering where they want to try and get the push off onto. Going to be a kitchen defense here for Team 1. Top floor already being pressured now. We did hear a C4 rip there, and it will come through. Lukid himself out of any damage radius and will find himself a couple of shots. How does he land the kill in such a short amount of time?
It's just too good. Lagonis responds, though, onto Fleapox, so there is that all-important Zephyr we were talking about, taken straight off the board. Perhaps is looking for his next kill, but it'll actually be Reduct to get it. Lagonis just standing out in the middle of the library corridor. I guess we'll never know what that was really about, but either way, he gets caught out.
Certainly a strange place to be, and the weight starts to rest on KDS's shoulders yet again. Now, he's heard the Gemini there, so he knows he doesn't really need to worry too much about this. He's going to try and take the heads-up engagement, goes for the free fire, chunked Lukid down to half, but it wasn't going to be good enough. Lukid lands a crisp headshot, and again furthers an advantage here for MIBR. They're continuing to look dangerous, even since switching onto the attack, and they've not quite answered all of our questions in the space of one round, but it's not far off. Look at Fowls, very animated there, calling out on the Z-ping. The opportunity has since passed. May have a chance of catching Alamau out. A little bit too slow there. Instead, going to try and stun on through and maybe go for a direct approach. But it's going to be Neskin holding the long angle. Great shoulder cover there from Neskin as he keeps Alamau alive inside of that one. 10 seconds now remain. Wrapped with the drop. He too will be taken down. Neskin is stepping himself up. He's come alive since getting on defense. He's now in the 1 versus 1 as Alamau finds himself down. 1 second remains. Keep yourself alive. He does just exactly that. It was a close one. It's one that will be remembered as a Team 1 round.
I mean, one thing that MIBR, I think, were doing really well in that round was their intel gathering. It's just about how they used it and the speed at which they reacted upon it. You mentioned the drone that went in there, and we had some very animated recalling and recounting of that information, but Rapt, who was upstairs, was actually quite far away. He was opening up the floor elsewhere as Sledge. So there was no one directly above to be able to act on that ping that came out and things like that, you know? The Gemini being used at the end got some great information, but it was so close for time. And it meant that Team 1, even though they did get quite punished in the mid-round, they had enough time to play with towards the end because MIBR weren't acting on that information that they got, even though the information gathering was actually quite good.
Now, Team 1 have taken us downstairs here. That really starts to beg a bit of a question, Gio. So far, we've seen Kitchen as the site. The only site that Team 1 have gone to on the defense. They played 1 round. And... Sorry, they played 2 rounds. And now we go here. And you just start to think, why for your second choice on defense are you going to take us downstairs into garage? Like, bar's a thing? Master bedroom office is a thing? What's going on here? Are they trying to exploit a lack of hard breach and they know that Files is only going to bring the Hibana and that's really going to be it? Still, it's a bit of a bold statement.
I'm wondering if they're just looking to throw MIBR off, right? Like, they've been playing decent so far, so let's take them to a site that they're probably not super well practiced on, at least not given the fact that their roster's been changing every other week, seemingly. I don't know. It's a peculiar one. I mean, they could have some pocket strats. They could have something very specific planned. But there is a reason that a lot of defenders don't like to go here, and that's because oftentimes you kind of hand it to the attackers.
Well, we'll have to see how MIBR choose to approach it. Already they're getting hassled as Raps can't even get a drone into main lobby without it being taken on out. He's now going to have to face check. Oh, it's like rule number 1, isn't it? Drone gets shot. Don't go for the face check. What happens? Raps goes for the face check and he falls to Levy. It's going to be the Sledge gone. It's going to be 2 nades removed. And an opening pick this time for Team 1, where typically we have seen MIBR dominating that stat so far.
Well, more drones to come out, check down these staircases. They can see the electrification on the wall. Of course, there are 2 sets of potentially reinforced walls that guard around Wine, so they want to check both. That's going to send KDS back into the site. Just got to figure out where. The shock drone's, of course, going to help get rid of the electroclaws. Or the mute jammers as well. Gives MIBR more of a chance to actually get those walls open, which you can hear happening in the background. Nice kill from Redux, and Felipox knows that they're being followed, so Neskin's the next to fall. Team 1 really trying to go for the roam and flank around, but it just doesn't seem to be working.
Well, Levy on the roam will find himself 1 back. Team 1 looking to pressure pretty much from every which way. Not only have they got players flat pushing into kitchen, but they've also still got Levy out there on the roam upstairs. KDS trying to keep a hold of sight now, along with Lagonis. 25 seconds. A lot of work yet to do. Still, Fowls in a position to try and move on through. Levy will be taken on down there, and that's got to be the green light for a push onto the site. Now you know that you're not going to be getting flanked. KDS and Lagonis, they've got a lot to do here. They can try and go for a bit of a rotation. There's going to be a gunfight that they have to try and come out with. KDS finds himself 1. Got to find himself a 2nd. He's going to need to find all 3 here if he's to be successful. KDS steps up in a big way, but it is not enough. Fowls, he was able to sneak the plan down. He was able to play the ring around the rosy. MIBR, take it.
It's just so hard. That room is so big, you know, and once it's been infiltrated, it's very hard to regain control of that, especially if you're on your own. And you have to have some kind of defense that's set up on both sides. But like Snow itself wasn't really touched. It was Wine that was very much the focus for MIBR. It was an attempt from Team 1, maybe to try and throw them off the scent. Whatever it was, it didn't work. So back to a more standard site of Bar, where Team 1 are going to be heading. Frost, I like the Frost. Frost is a good pick on this site, in my opinion. I mean, especially when you don't have a smoke, so you're going to need the shield anyway. But there are some good Pogmac placements for this site.
Really are. Frost's a great pickup on Chalet, regardless, I think, of site. Bar is probably the best one. But for me, just all the windows, there's nothing more satisfying than the clunk of a bear trap. So, let's see if it catches anyone on the side of MIBR out. Team One are constantly that team that, when I'm watching them play, I'm always thinking that they could be so great, but sometimes they just do some really strange things. Like in that previous round, Alamau and Neskin going for like a really awkwardly timed mid, not even like kind of mid-round, not quite mid-round, but a flank onto Kitchen, where both of them die.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, it comes down to 1 versus 1 in the site. Like, just... It's like what Alamau was saying. Unplug your keyboard. Sorry, not Alamau. Cameraman.
Cameraman.
Unplug that keyboard and just sit inside of the site. That's honestly, sometimes it's the best thing that you can do, because you just go out and get yourself caught into some sort of trouble. And that's what I feel like Team One do tend to find more often than not, is that trouble when they're out there on their own, really trying to force things to make them happen. And now they've just lost that lead that they had, and they're leveled back up again at 4 rounds apiece.
They can be a very high-risk, high-reward team. And that was something that I really felt at the start of this stage especially, is that they were doing it too much and there was not enough of a return on investment of the crazy things that they were trying to pull out. Then they started to tie it together a bit more throughout the middle of this stage, and now in this game, they're looking somewhat more like they're falling into those habits. Still, though, the opening kill is yet to be taken, which I think is a bit unusual for this series so far. I don't know how much most of these MIBR players are actually in the building yet. You know, we've got the presence on the window and some pressure, I think, being applied to every floor. Yeah.
The thing is, for MIBR, it's not a bad idea to just sit and wait and see what happens. You know, see if Team One get impatient and, you know, maybe you'll just be gifted a kill on a plate. That's seemingly a possibility at the moment with the way that Team One are conducting themselves and the way that they're playing. Redux isn't going to get caught out by that frost map, but he will be allowed access into the walk-in. Alamau is going to fall. It's going to be quite a site-focused push here. Alamau could be in a position to be revived, but one stray foot is all it takes. Redux able to shut him down. It is traded. Leapox will fall on the Zafir. Now, Redux has kind of cuts himself off there as he's going to have to exit through his own smoke. Lagonis trying to fight his way from this supply room. He's going to be able to keep hold of the site for a little bit longer as well. This is where your lack of setup and the lack of vertical control is really going to come to hurt you, because Team One are in positions now where you don't really need to move. For example, dealing with that player inside of stock is going to be very difficult throughout the remainder of these 15 seconds. Lukid, though, upstairs is going to find maybe a little bit of an entry. Along with Fowls, he could look to push in from this north side. Still, Lagonis inside of stock, but no, he's going to be taken out as Lukid comes in with the swing. Now the plank can be attempted. There's nothing really in the terms of denial aside from 1C4, which will come out from Levy. Beautifully timed. Not a lot of time really for anything else to happen, as I think a push through could have been cut down there by MIBR.
It was nice that those last two players did decide to drop together so they could try and provide that sort of trade potential. When they got the kill, was it Lukid and Falls? They got one kill, so Falls could start going in with the plant, but of course there's nothing that they could do about the fact that there was just that one key piece of denial remaining, and it meant that Team One didn't have to over-peak, which I think if that had been the case, there would have been a decent chance that MIBR would have been able to take it, just because Team One have been caught out in a number of those situations so far in this game. So C4 really came in clutch there. It puts Team One in the lead once again. Now, they'll be returning to Kitchen, which they did win on round 7, but no master defense for them. I do wonder if that's going to be the next defense, or if they are going to be stubborn and go back down to Snow, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Now, what they've brought here suggests to me a lot more of a sort of anchory kind of setup, you know, with the mirror, with the Kai. They've got the smoke as well. They're going to try and fortify the site really well. I mean, I suspect they're going to have players upstairs too, because that's such an integral part of taking this site. But when they started roaming on round 8, yes, it was a different site, but I think their roam was sloppy. And I would like to see them lean more into this idea of staying together.
I think you'd hope with the operators that they've selected in the composition that that is going to be the case. As we've come to know, you never really know with Team 1 what their plan is going to be. I am too curious as well about why they're avoiding that Master and Office site. And there's a chance that they will go back there, or they will go there for the first time next round, but it really doesn't seem to be something that they're favouring. I'm wondering if maybe they feel as though it's fallen out of favour a little bit. You know, we're still sort of vying for the most popular site here on this map, with it only being in the pool for such a short amount of time. We haven't really got a great read on where it is going to be. It is going to be that go-to site. And sometimes on maps, you know, it's kind of band dependent. A lot of maps, it's sort of changed and morphed over time, and as teams get a firmer idea of how they want to attack, then things do tend to change. Great value there out of the Twitch drone. It is going to be able to remove the mirror window. It's really not something that you get to see all too often.
Yeah, I always like getting to see that. And Twitch has become increasingly more popular of late anyway, so you get to see it a bit more. And especially as mirror has fallen out of favor as a ban, there's a higher chance of seeing it.
I'm either going crazy or you just said that Twitter instead of Twitch.
I don't think I said that, but I mean...
I might be going crazy. I'm usually the one that gets things wrong. But as the push starts to come through now, KDS and Redux are going to be opening up the kills. Redux still in position now as he moves quite aggressively through. He's going to get himself into bathroom, but he wasn't accounting for KDS. Another round where KDS is hitting multiple frags. He's already picked up 2. Toxic Babe Canister is going to start to try and deny this push. Luke is going to be caught out on the roof, making a rotate. One of the nice changes about Chalet is you can now make use of the roof, but ideally it's not where you want to be when there are only 30 seconds left and you may be required elsewhere by your team, but it does give you a nice opportunity to very quickly and safely relocate. Now he's still going to have Lagonis to deal with upstairs. The hatch being open as well is a vulnerability, and while KDS continues his good form, picks up 3 kills inside of the round. No, gets caught with the nade in hand. Ooh. Does manage to find one onto Lagonis. Fouls shuts down KDS eventually. There's only 6 seconds left remaining. Fouls is going to have to take this Goo mine out, and with the diffuser not even in his hand, he wouldn't be able to plant anyway as the time has run out. Team 1 there seemingly did unplug their keyboards for a time and actually keep themselves safe and alive.
All right, well, now Team 1 are on Ponto Decisivo.
Match point.
They are going to go back down into the basement.
Nah, they're saving strats.
Is that what this is?
I mean, hopefully they'll win and we can ask them the question.
Are you saving strats? Is that why you're going down into the basement?
Essentially.
I mean, I would like, you know, if they do win and we get the chance, I would really like to ask them what it is that makes them want to come here. They're doing the same thing as well. They've got the Vigil. I suspect the reason why they've 6-picked onto the Vigil is because they didn't want to give away that they've come back here. Maybe they were trying to lure MIBR into thinking that they're going to Master. Because MIBR also 6-picked. They changed from Hibana onto Ace.
Yeah, strange. Maybe Fowles is just not feeling the Hibana. Or
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Maybe he's fallen out and they've had a disagreement. The thing is, with Ace now, it's not immediately obvious why somebody has chosen Ace. Typically it was, yeah, smoke grenade. Like, that's the reason, right? But now it isn't immediately obvious why that switch has come through. I don't suppose that MIBR are anticipating a basement here. And that's just, and I may be saying that not quite arrogantly, but a little bit naively, in that we weren't necessarily anticipating a basement and we're kind of surprised by that being the site.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that is the reason, if MIBR have just gone, well, you know, they went basement last time, probably going to go basement again. Let's just try and, you know, get the main wall open, which from where the posturing looks like it could be on the cards.
See, what it is they go for, how they managed to do this, because it was good MIBR victory when they attacked onto the basement before. There wasn't a ton of pressure here into snow, but they didn't really need it, and that kind of caught Team 1 out a little bit later on when they had to try and rotate and retake control of Wine. They've also set up that really nice flank drone that we did see, so they will know if any of the defenders are in snow themselves. I mean, especially if they're gonna keep someone like, for example, Felipox out here and then try and take control of blue from the other side, you basically have that free control.
Redux is going to be looking to try and make something happen through Trench. Maybe, just maybe, calling for the wall to be open now. As we do hear the Selmas go on out. Vals is going to deploy that utility. Gives them a very nice long angle to work with that they can use all the way from Garage, coupled with the control and the pressure that they're applying from the main breach. Felipox has got quite a big job on his hands. Going to dip into the drone for the time being just to gather a little bit of intel. Team 1 probably not going to give anything away for free here. The site is going to be vulnerable. And without something like a smoke, without something like an echo, you really are going to be relying on these C4s. And that usually requires revealing yourself somewhat to actually get those C4s in position. Vals could look to go for a similar plant to last time, behind the wine cellar and the main rack inside of there. Redux had a call on the flank drone. He's going to try and take advantage of it. To now challenge on to Levy. Will be Alamau to open things up. Levy was able to drop the hatch and get himself back down to safety, but Redux hot on his heels. Still drone work going on inside of the site. Felipox now trying to stun out the player inside of Connector. Redux inside of Garage looking to make a direct challenge, but it's likely not going to matter as all of the kills do come on through. As the shop is cleared here by Team 1. We're able to be successful downstairs inside of the basement this time. They're going to take the game here against MIBR.
My hypothesis about MIBR maybe struggling a bit more on attack turned out to be true, but I don't think for a lot of it they played poorly. And I actually think in many of the rounds in this game, you know, what it came down to was kind of scrappy 1v1s. And things like that, or KDS just playing like beast. You know, we've got to give him credit where it's due. I don't think it was the cleanest game from either side, but I do think it was an optimistic game from MIBR and suggests maybe better things to come. The unfortunate thing is, however, that, you know, next weekend is the last weekend of this stage before the Copra Elite 6. So while it's optimistic, it hasn't given them any points. And is it just a little bit too late?
I think that's the important thing, and we're going to be able to really dig deep into that later on in the show. But for the meantime, we're going to bring Riley back on in here, and we're going to maybe press that interview button with Team 1, see if we can dig a bit deeper into their minds.
Yes, indeed. Interesting to see how things panned out there, particularly as we characterize Team 1 as a team that's on the up and up, and MIBR a team that is struggling. Obviously, it caught us by surprise to see Felipox back in the driver's seat. Well, in the controller seat. Like, maybe he was playing with one of them. Like, my dad loved car racing video games, so he bought one of them like steering wheel things.
Yeah.
Do you reckon he might have been playing with one of them? Look,
like
we'll
a
never
full
know.
sim racing setup.
Yeah, that's it. He's got one of those aeroplane joysticks he's playing with. No, look, it was a good effort by MIBR, and I think honestly better than what we were expecting heading into the round, particularly as Team 1 has been on this heater recently. Ultimately, of course, getting the win, but I think they were contested in a way that we didn't expect. Even if the siege was a little scrappy here and there, even if it was sort of difficult to connect the dots with what the players are doing at certain points of the game. Gio, I think in this situation here, we saw MIBR give a good account of themselves.
Yeah, I mean, especially when on the first half, right? And part of that, you have to kind of wonder if it's to do with some of the attacking approaches that Team One made, but MIBR did look decently coordinated. They had some really good kills, and it's probably the best we've seen of them so far in this stage.
It looks like it. We're going to have an interview now with Chubbs by the look of things, the coach of Team One. As soon as that's ready to go, we're going to be able to jump into this interview here. Looks like we're ready to go. So welcome Chubbs here from the victorious Team One. Congratulations on the win there. We were talking a little bit about your position as an up-and-coming team versus MIBR as a team that has been a little under the weather recently. What was your perspective going into this match, and was it in line with actually what happened?
We knew that we would play Chalet. Everyone was betting against MIBR, so they were letting go. So we bet on this. We knew it will be a hard game because you cannot underestimate MIBR because they are playing with the coach or Philippe Box with a controller. They are a great team. They are an awesome team. They finished the season invitation in third place. So I think we respect them too much for this game, but but definitely a great team. I feel a little bit bad for them because they are playing under these circumstances the entire split. They are not a team to be on the 7th place for sure, and they showed up really strong today. Really strong.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to ask is, when you guys were attacking, MIBR has played really well on the defense, absolutely, but it looked like you guys were trying some new things on the attack. For example, in round 2, when you were attacking onto the bar side, you didn't really do the traditional upstairs, clear, pressure, library, and piano. You were coming down in through kind of the bottom 2 floors instead. What was the thought process behind that?
I think we have probably 3 different chalets, and this one we just thought that would be a good opportunity to put on a test on a game because it's different to practice a strat and put it in a live game, the pressure and everything that goes to. So we knew that probably we're gonna win today. We're the strongest team today. They are playing a little bit handicapped, but it was a good opportunity to put that for now, because Elite 6 is going on, and then a lot of teams will look, okay, we have to ban Chalet, which Chalet they will play, and this kind of mind game will help us a lot on the next games.
Chubbs, I think looking forward now to the next couple of fixtures that you're going to have next week. You're going to play 2 games next week. I think you've got Liquid and Black Dragons. There's a chance really for you guys to end in at least that sort of top 3 if everything goes in your favor. Is that something that you guys were expecting? Because I know that you're still a relatively new and developing side. It must feel pretty good to be able to put that work in and see results relatively quickly.
I think it doesn't matter a lot for us. It's the same talk that we have before season invitational. We had 2 months to be on the top 20 teams in the world. We finished in 9th place. We focused on fundamentals back then. Now we are going step by step, and you cannot mess this up or you're gonna fall down again. So we are in a good spot. We are evolving really quickly every single day. We are focused on just on our job, not the other teams. And every time we played against Liquid was a really close game. Either we lost for 7-5 or 8-7, or we won. So, and Black Dragons, they look really strong now with this new roster. Parisian and Reset, they are really awesome kids to play against. They are probably the most aggressive players in LATAM right now. So, will be good. Great games, good to watch, good to play. We'll have fun and see what the future reserves to us. We are focused just on us. The other team doesn't matter a lot.
Well, Chubbs, thanks for joining us, mate. Congratulations on the win today, and all the best in the coming rounds next week as well. Chubbs
Thank you.
Chubbs here from Team One. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's an honor.
All right, my friends. Well, that's going to do it for our 3rd match. We've got one more coming your way, and we do hope you'll stay with us, of course. Well, I mean, you definitely will when you hear that it is Team Liquid facing off against Furia. That's coming up after the break. So stick around, everyone. Plenty more Siege coming your way after this.